Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Garden of Eden. We're on episode... Oh my gosh, what are we on? I wrote it down. It's actually... I'm looking at something for once. We're on episode 26. Welcome back. Hope you are doing well, having a good week. Such and such. First of all, disclaimer. Hopefully there's... I've said this in a couple of different things. I don't know what I've said it in what. But... hopefully you can't hear. There are works going on in my building. I did do a test to make sure none of it would pick up too much, but I will say the apologies just in case anything picks up. Plus, I do denoise a little bit, so hopefully that takes something out of it. But the disclaimer is there. But how we doing? How we going? How's our week been going, everyone? When I was like, when did I talk to you last? Last Tuesday. Yeah, for me. I was like, and I was having it was one of those weeks where I was just, everything was annoying me. I was ready to complain about everything. It's really fun. It's really fun having an outlet to just get some shit off your chest. You know what I mean? When you need to, and you need to go for it, it's a good thing to have. But we're back to regular schedule, which is no schedule. But I was like, after last week, we talked a bit about, we talked and complained a lot, but I was doing the thing about, I was talking about, like, spelling and how everything's Americanized. It drives me crazy, because every time I spell something, it's, considered wrong, even though I use, a U in everything, or an S instead of a Z, also a Z instead of a Z. Yeah, that's how we say. It's really weird to say, because people who say Z, it's just like, yeah, I get it, and then people who say Z find it so strange. I would assume, because like Z to me, when I hear Z, I'm like, what the hell is that a letter? I'm like, no, it makes no Z. Excuse me. Like zebra. It's just, it doesn't sound right, or like it makes any sense. Whereas like zebra, I don't say zebra, but zebra. I think I'm going. We need to get off the actual letter stuff. But I thought I just went completely down a random. I've confused myself where I'm at. But today I thought it'd be really fun, and it's something I'm going a throwback. It's a throwback to like 20, I'm going to say 14 maybe, where every person on YouTube was doing like the accent challenge. Does anyone remember I guess depends who was on YouTube at that time. It was in my like teen YouTube experience. There were all the challenges. Challenges were a thing. Challenges were wild. Everyone was doing it, and it was a fun time. It was a more simple time, and a lot of people did the accent challenge, and I thought it was the most cool, fun thing ever. It's so fun. I love, and as we've talked about, we did the Australian fun facts. So, I talk about it every now and then. I find it a really interesting topic. I love talking about differences. I think it's cool. I love getting to like chat with people in the comments, because I get, people will comment and be from such various different places. I think it's cool. I think, to have what some people say, like social media is bad. It does have its like really interesting, and connection, I think is really fun. But I was like, it's slang time, baby. Because I was like, what's so fun to talk about is slang, and slang from your country and how it differs to other people. And I thought I was going to do one where I like got different slang and have the like UK, American and Australian versions, and then compare them all. But I was like, I don't really have any standing in, and I won't be able to talk anything about the other versions, because I don't know, even if I know that, there's the obvious ones where I was going to say differences in way things are said, and if we like this one, I can do that. Like how you have the same thing everywhere, and this kind of covers that, but like, you have tomato sauce, and here it would be tomato sauce. Well, in America, it would be ketchup, wouldn't it? Ketchup? Because in my mind, when we say, sorry, on a side tangent, if we like this, we could do more of this, but it would be like CATCHUP, like you're catching up to someone. That's how I say it. I think it's more spelt ketchup. But then I would say tomato sauce, and then an American would say tomato. So it's language is wild. I think it's so fun. But I was like Googling around to look at like Australian slang because I know it and use it, but I can't, I can't just off the top of my head write down. But I did get a list of 100 different slang. I did delete a couple. I went through it all just to like, because I wanted it to be only slang that I generally use. Because if I'm going to talk about it, and we're going to have like a fun, because it's a fun thing that I'm like, do you guys have slang for, like, you know, that sort of thing. I think it's really fun to hear someone talk about these things. And it's Ethan's guide to Australian vernacular, Australian slang, that if you're ever coming to Australia, you're ever visiting, you happen to, or you've been and you're like, what the hell did they mean by that? And you didn't Google it for some reason. This is where we're at. So I think it's fun. Or if you're watching Australian show, you know, we had a lot of, when we were watching Heartbreak High, there wasn't much, but there was a couple of things like, there was definitely, what was it? Eshe obviously was a thing that I had a lot of people in different comments ask about because they're like, what the hell is that? And then there was another, I think it was, I mentioned TAFE at one point, which is kind of like a different like version of like, you go to university, or you could take more of a like trades vocation, and TAFE is the you know, the setup we have in Australia for that like career path. And I think it's just fun because, like, you know, you talk about them and then you might watch something that's Australian or something and be like, I know that now. I don't know. I just like talking about this stuff. I think it's really fun. I picked the ones that I think are used more. Granted, everyone hangs out with a select group, you know, has families, comes from different, so there's definitely ones that were on there, and I was like, I don't say them, but I know of, like, groups of people who would use those. A lot of different words for different alcohols, which I don't use. A lot of different words for beer and stuff. I cut them out. They, you know, if you Google a list, you'll find them, and they're interesting, but I was like, I want the ones that I speak. But we start, and they're in alphabetical order, so some of them we kind of will come back to maybe to talk, you know, they'll be similar. But here is your guide. Here is Ethan's guide. I feel like, what is it? Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? It's Ethan's Guide to Australian Slang. Welcome in. Your complete and utter guide. Not really, because we're only doing like, give or take 80 something, and we're just going through them. There's probably a lot more, but we get into it. First of all, we have Arvo. Easy. And maybe I'll like do it and I'll use it in a sentence. I'll tell you what it means and then I'll use it in a sentence. Arvo. Yeah. Sorry, I just said yeah because I was like, I know what it means. Afternoon. What are you doing this Arvo? Easy. Pretty. But then you have, which you have to look out for. I don't think it's, they just can maybe sound slightly similar, but the context, avo, avocado. Can I have avo on toast? Like you have, like people say, you know, scrambled eggs and avo on toast. It's just the way, some of these I would assume other countries would shorten them to as well, because they just make sense. But Australia is very fond of shortening literally everything they can, or kind of dropping sounds and adding like A's. Like instead of like water, we'd say water. Like, you want some water? It's just W-A-T-A, practically. But like no one would spell it like that, but that's how it's said. Like, you know, can I have a glass of water? It's just the way we like, everything likes to be chopped. Okay. Bail. To cancel plans. Are you coming out, or are you going to bail on us again? Big one. Love using a bailout. And anyone who bails on plans sucks, because that's just the way. Though I tend to bail on plans all the time. Barbie, not the fantastic movie with Margot Robbie. Shout out, she's Australian, but that's a barbecue, that's an easy one because it's, you know, they say put a shrimp on the Barbie. No one says shrimp. They're different animals. We eat prawns. Shrimps are a thing, but I'm pretty sure they're different animals actually. But it's just one of those things. It's we say prawn, but Barbie is an easy one. Bathers, which is also, we have it means swimsuit, or like what you'd wear to go to the beach or like swim or in a pool. I think we have different ones in different states too, because I was talking about this with my friends, because we have like, you know, different states also have different ways of saying things, and we fight over it. Like a chicken parmigiana, I think that's the full word, never said it in my life, is shortened in Australia to a chicken parma. That's what you call it. And in certain states, you call it a chicken parma. In certain states, you'll call it a chicken palmy with an I. Anyone who says palmy is wrong. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. But it's just, ooh, palmy? No. Hey, what are you, a child? It sounds, I'm making a stance. I don't think I've heard anyone from Melbourne or Victoria call it a palmy, but it's gross. We even had, it's a big debate. For anyone not in Australia, it's a big debate. Like, a big cracker, I guess, brand called Shapes released a flavor of the chicken parma, and on one side of the box it said chicken parma, on the other side it said chicken palmy. I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering correctly, because they were like, we don't want to piss off the half of the general public. No matter how you do it, one half is going to be pissed. And basically, I feel like in a full Melbourne setting, if anyone said chicken palmy, you would get, like, everyone would be mad. It's just how it happened. It's chicken parma. Just saying, hands down, chicken parma. Don't talk to if you say palmy, don't talk to me. The Australians get it. But bathers. Okay, so for swimsuits, I would say you could say bathers, or possibly like grab your togs. Do I think other states say that? I don't know because I was talking to my friends and we had an argument about it. I don't remember what they called it or what I was referencing, but it was there was a lot of games, different things like handball, downball. There are many debates in Australia that are fought furiously, I reckon, if you actually care enough. Like, they don't actually matter in the slightest. But the Great Australian Wars over how to pronounce things. And one against emus, but that's a whole other topic. Okay. Beauty means great. You know, beauty, obviously beautiful, but like, you beauty. It's great. Some of these are definitely like, I wouldn't say, there's ones that I use all the time and ones I use a lot less often. And a lot of them happen to be older Australian slang that I personally feel like I use somewhat more than my friends, because I grew up with older parents and I don't have siblings. So I was around like the older like generations of my family a lot more. So some of them I'm like, yes, I know what I'd say it, and no one, like, they you know, they're not used as much. But we have bloody means very, and bloody oath, like, yes or very true. Like, bloody hell, you'd be like, oh my god, that's a lot. And then, yeah, bloody hell, everyone uses that. Then, like, bloody oath, like, what would, like, oh, do you think it's called palmy or palmer? Because I would say it's a palmer, and I would say bloody oath. I got to bring it back to the things. Bogan, which is our sort of redneck. This website says someone who is not very sophisticated. They said it, not me, but it's like the redneck of the Australian community. Also, when I was talking about how a certain group of people would use all the words that I took off, it's the Bogans. It's the Bogans who would use the words that I have taken off. This next one I was reading, and I actually like kind of thought it was kind of sad. I kind of came to a realization. Booze bus, which is a police vehicle used to catch drunk drivers. You know, when they like set up and you like drive through and they like test your blood alcohol limit and, you know, make sure everyone's not drink driving, which is like good on them. Annoying when they hold up traffic, but, you know, they are doing some, yeah, okay, they're doing a great job. Like, we don't want any drink drivers. I just hate traffic because I get really stressed. But I was thinking when this happened, I was like, booze bus. I was like, because that's all I've ever called it. And I was like, what do other people, like, what do other countries call it? What is it called actually? Because I've never heard anyone not call it a booze bus. So do let me know. That's one of the things. I'm like, what is that actually called in general? No clue. It's only a booze buzz. Bottle-o, which is like a liquor shop. I don't know if I'd use that one, but I do. It's used a lot around. You go to the Bottle-o. You go to the liquor shop. I would generally, in that instance, say the brand or the name of the shop, because I think that's easier. Going back to bathers, swimsuits, Speedos. We would call them budgie smugglers, which is more maybe an older one. I don't think anyone would call, you just call them Speedos. Budgie smugglers is because like, is budgie smuggler, I guess it would be anyone, but I guess only maybe it would be in reference to a man wearing Speedos, because it's smuggling a budgie, you know what I mean? You got the little, you got a little indent, smuggling the budgie. You get what I mean? I'm assuming that's why they call that, or else I have no idea, because that is what I have thought all my life. We're doing a lot of, we've done a lot of the personality tests. This is another time for introspection. Brekkie, breakfast. Easy. What are you having for brekkie? The bush, and this will come back later, but bush is, you have like, I should just say it, bush is like out of the way, out of civilization. You're like, oh, we're going up to the bush. Like, you're going. And then you have outback, which is more reference to, they say the Australian outback. To us, I feel like it's like kind of central Australia where no one is. And that's like further from the bush. That's like really away. You go to the bush, you go to the outback, you go to the outback. You know what I mean? There's like two different words and degrees for where the fuck you were going. Then you have chock-a-block, means full. So like, oh, I'm looking at my schedule today, chock-a-block. It's full up. Bicky, biscuit, easy. Chook, chicken. Chook was a character from Heartbreak High. I hope that, did people know that his name was Chook, meaning like chicken? I don't understand why he was called chicken, but like Chook, like chicken. Or maybe his name sounded like that. This one I do not stand with. I don't like it. Chrissy for Christmas. I hate it. There's something about Chrissy that just doesn't sound right. I hate the word. I don't like it when people are like, the only form I will take is Chrissy presents. If you're like presents on Christmas, you get your Chrissy presents. But other than that, Chrissy, there's just something about it I don't like. And I don't know why. It's just a word that I'm like, it sounds, when there's a lot of slang and some of them sound childish. That one to me is very like, I'm an adult. I'm not calling it Chrissy. No one I know really uses it. Crikey, that's pretty stock standard, like crikey. Like, I don't think, I think I'd say that more as a joke. Like, I would only use it to like emphasize like, I'm being weird, like crikey, like I would never use, you know what I mean? Crook, not to be confused with chook. Chook is a chicken, crook is being ill. So like, oh, I feel sick, crook. But it is also a criminal, like a bad guy, he's a crook, he's crook. I think that's more like crooked, possibly, but two different, depends on context. Yeah, I'm feeling sick, I'm crook. A dag is a nerd or like a geek, but only slightly. Or you like kind of dress poorly. It's like meant to be like you're not up with it, like you're a bit daggy. People say that's definitely a lot older one. I remember, my nan used to say that a lot. Like she'd see someone with like, I don't know, they'd be wearing something like not good enough, and she'd be like, oh, he's dressed a bit like a dag, and you'd be like, his nan, it's okay. Or you'd be like, yes, agreed. Dax, trousers, which is like, your Dax. I wouldn't say that's a popular one either, but you have like track pants. Some people would say tracky Dax, because you have your trackies for track pants, and then you have Dax, so track pants would be tracky Dax. I feel like that's also an older one too, not the most common or used. Dead set, true. Like that's true, correct. Like it's called a Palmer, dead set, it's called a Palmer. Easy. These two, I don't think I'd ever say defo for definitely, but defo, definitely. Devo Devastated. I love the ones that sound really similar. You have defo, definitely. Devo, devastated. Drongo, not a one I would use ever, but it's a fool. I don't think many people, I don't hear it a lot. Again, I think it's only a word said to be, I can't think of the word that I want to use for these ones, but when you want to be like, you're like, oh, I'm being extra Australian with this one. Ironic. You kind of, I feel like it's an ironic word. You say it ironically. That and crikey, it's one of those things. A dunny is a toilet, and a durry is a cigarette. So, you know, don't think this would happen much, but if you're smoking a durry on the dunny, you're smoking a cigarette on the toilet. That's a fun double up. Esky, an insulated thing to keep drinks cold. A cooler. A cooler? I don't know what other countries would call it. You just call it an esky. I think esky's a brand and everyone just calls it. It's kind of like jacuzzi instead of hot tub. You know, the thing you put drinks in and you put ice in it and keeps them cold. Just everyone calls them an esky and that's what it's called. Even if it's not that, I think it's a brand. This one I really like. Fair dinkum. Like, honestly. Like, you know, when someone says, I would say, look, we're going back to Palmer. If someone from Melbourne was like, I call it a palmy, I'd be like, fair dinkum. Like, really? No way. That's not the best example, but I wanted to relate it to the one we're talking. Back to being busy, flat out. You like, look at your schedule, it's all full up. You're like, yep, I'm flat out today. Can't do it. Footy, Australian football, g'day, we all know. Gnarly, I feel like that's everyone knows. Gnarly, like awesome, cool. It's gnarly, it's wicked. Oh, wicked. I feel like wicked and gnarly are similar. Going off, that one's hard to... Going off is like busy. It says busy lots of people, but I'd say it's only in like a good way for like a party, a club. It could be like anything where a lot of people are excited about something or having a good time or it's popular. Like you look at a restaurant or like a club, and if there's a lot of people there, you're like, it's going off. Like it's doing business. Good on ya. Good work. Goon, wine in a box. There's, you know, I think we saw it in Heartbreak High too. There was a goon bag on a clothesline. It's a thing that happens. Don't ask me why. I don't know the origin, but it's a thing. Heaps. Lots. Many. You know, that's... You know, there's like heaps of them. Also, like, you can say like, it's heaps good. Like, it's very good. I don't like that because it doesn't sound like... Not that any of this is good English, but heaps good to me just doesn't ring making sense to me. A hoon, I think, is an older one too, but it means like hooligan or like usually like bad driver. So if someone like speeds past you and they're definitely like breaking the law, they're a hoon. And I feel like there's also underlying of like young people. I feel like it's only, you don't call like older people a hoon. You just call them a bloody idiot. Whereas a younger person is a hoon. Iffy, that makes sense. Bit risky or unreliable. Iffy, I feel like I would use for like when something's going off, like food or something. When you're like, oh, is that chicken all right? Or is that milk all right? And you're like, oh, let me have a smell of it. Ooh, bit iffy. You know what I mean? Then we have lollies, sweets, which I don't know what I was talking about. I was talking about it the other day. I was doing a video. I was like, oh, you know, the lollies. And I was like, fuck, does that make sense to anyone? Whereas American, it's candy. It's sweets in the UK. Here it's like everything is under kind of the broad term of lollies. That just, it makes sense. Macca's, McDonald's, easy. Mate, friend, that's very Australian. Mozzie, a mosquito. Oh, fuck, there's a mozzie in my room. Makes sense. I feel like my Australian comes out more when I'm trying to put them in a sentence because I want to put it on to make sure I know what I'm doing. I like these next three. There's no drama, no worries, no wakas. Which is no problem, and then the truly Aussie way to say no worries. It's like they keep upping each other. So you'd be like, no drama, no worries, no wakas. But I feel like no worries is probably the best use and the most used in Australia. Like anytime you say you're like, you're dealing with someone, or like, you know, you're like, it's kind of used all the time. It's just the, you know, thank you, like, it's a no worries. That's the kind of follow up to a thank you in Australia. I feel like that is probably one of the most used ones everywhere. You know, no worries, like, it's fine, it's all good. We're chill. It's not even like a, you know, you like bump someone on the street, like, oh, sorry, no worries. Like, it's just, it's such a, I love no worries. No worries is at the pinnacle, the S tier of Australian slang. Outback we covered. Pash, to kiss. The next 4 are all piss related. Pissed off is to be angry. A piss up is a party. Being pissed is to be drunk. And then piss off is a way to tell someone to get lost. Can I put them all in 1 second? In one sentence? Let me think. Hold on. Pissed off, piss up, pissed, piss off. Okay. I went to I got pissed at a piss up, and someone pissed me off, so I told them to piss off. There you go. Whew, that was really hard to think. And I feel like you can also add another one, because if someone pissed off, you can like, they can be angry at them, but it also means like, oh, if they pissed off, that means like they could have been angry, or just in general, they kind of disappeared and left. So you could be like, oh, I got pissed at the piss up. My friend pissed off, which pissed me off. So I texted him to piss off. Oh, Jesus. That's hell. If you ever say that sentence, you need help, because that's too much. That's too much going on in a sentence. And then you have rack off, which is just kind of like the nicer way to say piss off. But like, so I think generally people just jump to go fuck yourself. So, reckon for sure. Like, what do you reckon? Yeah, you reckon? Are you sure? It's a good one. Reckon is also up there. No worries and reckon are probably the most. Rally or rellos, relatives, pretty easy. Ripper, you ripper, that's great. This is another one of the, like, I have the examples. It's trainers in the UK, sneakers in the US, I'm pretty sure. And then we have runners. That's just what, like, sport-esque shoes or general, like, athletic looking shoes are used. They're runners, which makes the most sense to me, because I'm like, generally if you're wearing them, you're not training, you're not sneaking, but you might run. Like, generally you're only walking in them, but like, I'm like, running makes the most sense. They're runners. Sanger, I don't use, but sandwich, I would just call it a sandwich. I feel like that's what it is. Servo is a gas station. Service station, servo, service, servo, easy. That's sick, which is awesome. And then sicky is when you take a day off work, a sick day off work. But then you can also pull or chuck a sicky. So you can have a sicky, which you're earnestly sick, so you need to take a day off. But then you can chuck a sicky or pull a sicky, which means you're lying about it. Because sometimes you need a day off. And if your company ain't giving personal days, you need a day off every now and then. A snag is a sausage. And then you have like, you get a snag at like a sausage sizzle at a Bunnings, which is like a hardware store. God, I feel like I'm thrown out so much. Australia, which is Australia, but that one, ooh, seldom would I ever on earth say something, say that. To be stoked, happy, you know, I'm totally stoked about that. Stuffed is tired, which I guess makes sense. I feel like if you're stuffed, you'd be, I'm feeling stuffed, like I'm tired. But also, I guess if you're feeling stuffed, yeah, no, it works. I was like, granted, I'd say it more as well if I'm like stuffy, like when your nose isn't working. Sunnies, sunglasses, tea, dinner, like, oh, you coming home for tea? Or like, you having tea with us later? Tea means dinner. Even though tea is like tea, it's like tea, you'd say tea time, which means dinner. I don't know why. That's actually an interesting one, because I'm like, why? I feel like that might be an older one too, like an older Australian generation thing, because you don't hear it as much. But at tea time, it's dinner time. That just makes sense to me, but I don't know why it's called that. Did older generation Australians have tea at dinner time? Maybe. But it doesn't make fully sense to me. but it does. You know what I mean? I grew up with it, so it just works. Thongs, which is flip-flops, or, you know, that sort of thing you'd wear in summer. You flip-flop, yeah, like flip-flops. And I know thongs in America are like a G-string, or like an undergarment, but yeah, they're just called thongs here. And it's just like one of those weird things where we call our razors rubbers and everything for us, and then like we call them a fanny pack, not a bum bag, and everything to other countries just sounds really like wrong or dirty. And it's like, it's not the way, it's just the way we've known them. A Yui is to take a U-turn, and I feel like chuck is put at a lot of things just at the start. Like, to do something, you just add chuck. That's not a rule, but it just happens a lot. Like, we're talking about chucking a sickie. You also chuck a Yui. It's just like taking a U-turn or doing a U-turn. You're chucking a U-turn. Up yourself, stuck up. We don't like people who are up themselves. And, you know, there's a fine line. They're fine. When you hit that too much, then it's bad. This goes back to the bush and outback. You know, bush, far away, outback, further away. And then you have whoop whoop, which is middle of nowhere. Doesn't necessarily mean it's far, but it's a place that's like it's not even no one's heard of. But like, if you have a friend in the group, say, that lives the furthest away from everyone, I feel like they live in whoop whoop. Like, they live too far away. But it actually does also mean if they do live too far away, they live in whoop whoop. And if they live somewhere that kind of like no one knows, they live in whoop whoop. It's also a good one if you don't remember where they live. You go, they live out at whoop whoop. It's kind of like, it's in all terms, and I really enjoy it. It's a fun one. And then use, which is just the plural of you. Instead of saying like you guys, like I put in like a lot of the bios and stuff, I'll say y'all, which some of my friends fucking talk to me about, because I say y'all a lot in general, and they like, that's so American. I'm like, well, hey, I watch a lot of American TV. Of course, I'm gonna pick up on something. But use, I feel like use I like, and I use it all the time. Like, use guys, hey use, but it just sounds so like bogany, which we learnt earlier. But like, it sounds very like not good English, which is a horrible sentence in itself. But like, oh, you know, use. It just doesn't sound right, so I don't use it that much. I prefer y'all. I like a y'all. Y'all's an American one that I get behind, because I feel like no one really says it here. Like, I'll be like, how y'all doing? And everyone will be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Australians also get really judgy, which is fun. But it's just y'all's doing well with inventing the word y'all. It's just, I don't know, I don't hear it a lot, but it's just one of those words I liked. But that's it for the list. I feel like it wasn't too much for like 80 something. We got through it fairly quickly, but I was like, I can't take 7 minutes on each one, it will be here forever. But I thought it'd just be a fun one. I love this stuff. I was like, we could do things that are like different between 3 countries, because I was going to do that, and then I thought slang would be really fun to talk about. But we could, in another one, if we enjoy this, talk about things that are different. Also, let me know some of your slang, or things that you call different things that are different to maybe America or the UK, and I can add what we'd do it in Australian, because it's just fun. I think country comparisons are so enjoyable to do and talk about. I think it's so much fun and just so interesting. I love hearing everyone's like different versions of things. So if you have any wild ones, just slang in general or differences to ours, let me know, because I'd like to know. I love to hear them. But yeah, that's all. My week was also, again, fairly slow. I keep going, you know, you got to do things, and then like things happen, or you postpone them, and then the week doesn't run. But I'm happy to talk about this stuff because I find it so interesting and enjoyable. But other than that, I just hope you've enjoyed. I hope you've had a little bit of a break and listening to all my crap spouted at you, maybe learnt something, because I think they're interesting, or at least found some of it interesting. But yeah, I hope you're having a great day, and I hope to see you in the next one.